Change the buttons right away. I cannot stress this enough. The default button configuration as it stands at the time of making this video is highly detrimental to the overall gameplay experience. You need to go to settings and click toggle sprint. This isn't available in the demo. Then change the sensitivity. The developers were a little too conservative with movement speed. Then the primary action. Forget the letter E, make it the left mouse button. Then throw, make this the right mouse button. Place is for when you put things on shelves. Make it E. You have to hold E to put stuff on shelves. Then, to rotate things on shelves and in your shop, press the middle mouse button. Now, I promise you, take my word for it, I've just made this game incredibly more player-friendly. Try standing here. If you are playing on PC with a mouse pointer and you have taken my advice about changing the key bindings, then the best place to stand when serving customers is here. As you can see, it requires the least amount of mouse pointer movement. I often help out the slow-moving clerk until I can afford the more expensive employee. The giant sprinkler does fit. If you put it in what seems like the exact center, it doesn't always hit all of the farm tiles. However, put it about here and it hits all of the farm tiles at least once per day. You need to fiddle around with the positioning a little, but see here, if I put it about here, it hits all the farm tiles on both of the farm plots. It just takes some clever positioning. Also, you can plant trees in the farming area and the sprinkler will get them too. Deconstruct stuff you are not using. At the time of making this video, if you uninstall or deconstruct something, then you do not have to pay the overnight maintenance fee for it. For example, here my maintenance fees are $1,374. Here I have a workshop and all of these machines. I deconstruct all of these machines and my maintenance fees have gone down from $1,374 to $1,089. Knowing this is a bit of a money saver earlier in the game, and it has its use logic in the world. For example, you probably don't need to keep your boat in the water overnight, especially since the next time you use it, you're probably going to put it into your inventory and swim to your target area anyway. You don't have to decorate your shop. Thanks to the decorative items, I have an extra 24 reputation. Here is my shop. I place these ornament things. They each increase my reputation by a little bit. They are not to my taste, but to show you, my extra reputation has gone up from 24 to 34. However, if you don't want them in your shop, you can always put them in your bedroom or your workshop. In fact, I put the reputation building light outside near my farm so that I can see my crops at night. Anyway, now these are down, you can see here I still have the plus 34 reputation, even though my customers will never see them. Throw rotten food on the junker. It is actually more profitable to throw rotten food on the junker than it is to sell them at a heavy discount. In short, it's better to let something go rotten than to lower the price and sell it super cheap. I thought they would patch this out, but at the time of making this video, they haven't. So it's probably a gameplay feature to address some economic balance. I pick up this box and it has one scallion in it. I use the stack function, the letter V button, to place that scallion in with the rest of this box. I do a similar thing with these strawberries here, filling that box with some from this box. These only have a day left before they go rotten, so I lower the prices. I go as low as the wholesale price. At the time of making this video, this is not a good idea. I could let them go rotten and still get a good price at them from the junker. Another good reason not to lower your prices is because you have to remember to raise your prices when you get the fresh supplies of that product. Decorations only add to your reputation once. For example, if you go fishing and you find the fish decoration, feel free to put it up. If you want, you don't have to. If you fish up a second one, you can see here, my reputation is 15. I put up a second identical fish and my reputation remains at 15. Rather than putting up this useless duplicate, put it into the junker and get some money for it. Round up the math. It is frustrating not being able to afford employees the next day. I'm not questioning your math skills, but try to make it easier on yourself. Round up the numbers and then add them. In this case, I can pretend that this is the number 3,000, 2,000, and 2,000 for a total of 7,000. That way, all I need to do is be sure that I have more than 7,000 left at the end of each day's order. Do it in this simplistic manner, and you don't have to end every day with a perfect math solution. Dirt is not a big problem. Filth lands where the customer first stands. If you wish, you can arrange your setup to make cleanup easier by putting stuff close to the entrance. Well, at least during the early part of the game. Cleaning is the biggest reason for losing reputation during the very early game, but it doesn't matter as much as it first seems. During the early game, your reputation can hover around 20, and you will still sell out your stuff. Also, if you took my advice about changing the buttons over, you can press and hold E and then place something on the shelf. Like here with the fish, I keep holding E and then I use the mouse roller to select the next fish. It's just faster this way. Pick up stuff and drop the large box. Rather than collecting the stuff and then dropping each item one by one, you can collect up as much as you can and then select the big box and you drop it. When you do this, it drops all the things that you are carrying into a neat pile. You then pick up the large inventory box, collect more stuff, and repeat the process. It's a very neat and efficient way of collecting stuff. Get the large box as soon as possible. It is the most efficient way of moving things. Check down the back of your junker. There are times where, if you go over to the back, stuff sometimes can get lost. On a similar note to the previous tip, if you are not using the Cellar employee yet, if you are still using stacking and removing boxes from your shop, then again, pick up the empty boxes, go stand on the junker, select and drop your large inventory box, pick it up, and then get off of the junker, and you'll see that it's stacked your boxes neatly for disposal. Don't hire cellar workers until you are rich. The cellar works like this. Let's say I set up a jam stand over here. It has 4 types of jam. In my cellar is a stockpile of those same jams. My cellar worker waits until the boxes in my shop are empty and then refills them automatically with stuff that's stored in the cellar, just following her down to the cellar. Don't forget that things in your cellar do not go rotten. She collects these things from the cellar and she puts them in the shop. This allows you to farm up a giant batch of one type of crop, stockpile it, and then have your cellar worker restock your shelves for you. It also means that once you have a place for each of the items in your shop, all set out how you want it, then when you take a delivery, you can just dump it in the cellar and then let your cellar worker do all of the shelf filling. Also, your cellar employees will work while it's night time. This is good to know if you're considering hiring more than one cellar employee. Your other employees will be stood around, but your cellar employee will keep restocking the shelves until the job's done. Don't lose empty boxes. If you have set up your market in a way that allows you to dump supplies in your cellar, then make sure to keep track of your empty boxes. As you can see here, I press Tab to get to my inventory, and I can use this to help me make my next order. Yet, as I look here, it says that my shop is all out of candy sticks. But I know for a fact that my shop doesn't yet have a place for candy sticks. This means there must be an empty box of candy sticks somewhere out there on the map. In this case, I was lucky. I found it down the back of the junker. Once the box is destroyed, I can go back to my journal, knowing that the candy stick item is no longer listed on my inventory sheet. Order using Tab and empty boxes. Let's assume that you are fairly far in the game at this point, and you've set up your shop how you like it. In this case, I have set up my shop so that everything has its place. I order new stuff, and my cellar employee replaces the goods. As a result, I no longer have to pull empty boxes off of shelves, or restock any of the items myself. This means that the reorder process becomes a lot easier. This is especially true if you took heed of my previous tip about not losing empty boxes. Here is the reorder guy. In his menu, I press the Tab button. It shows I have 0 boxes of aged cheese and almonds, so I press Tab again to go back to the buying screen, and I buy 1 aged cheese and 1 of almond. Tab back, and it says I have very few beets, so I tab again, and I order beets. Let's see, 0 bread, 0 cabbage, back to the order screen, 1 bread, 1 cabbage, and so on and so on. Now, when my order arrives, I can just throw it in the cellar, unload it all as quickly as possible using the throwing the inventory bag down method, and as you can see there, my cellar employee collects it up and restocks my shelves. Stack stuff within the reachable area. Using the drop your inventory box trick from earlier, when you stack your stuff, put it near this edge of the crane cart. That way, you can reach it easily when you are unloading. Also, do note that leaving boxes around doesn't make the store seem dirty in the eyes of the customer. So if you wish, you can store stuff like this in your shop and then restock as you go. The only downside is that stuff will go rotten if it's left in your shop, whereas it doesn't go rotten when it's stored in your cellar. Sugar is pretty overpowered. At the time of making this video, sugar grows all year round. This means that you can plant and farm it at any time you like without having to worry about which season it is or perhaps how close to the end of the season it currently is. Also, you can sell it in your shop for a profit and it doesn't go rotten. Ergo, you can just leave a bunch of it on your shelves and you don't have to worry about it. Plus, you can use it in baking and in the production of jam. So yeah, it's pretty overpowered in terms of this game. You can see the special fish. The map gives you a clue as to where the special fish are, but to be sure where they are, you need to get out of your boat and actually look for them. Take a look, do some fishing, and then, as you see there, I start to catch the special green fish. If you go fishing, don't worry about catching too many. You can store them in your cellar and they will never go rotten so long as they are located in your cellar. Don't forget to pack up your boat before you go to bed, otherwise, that night, you will be charged a maintenance fee for it. You can fill your boat with fish. Here is the swordfish, or well, perhaps it's a tuna, I'm not sure. It is okay to fish at night because during the night you have all of the time you want. The next day doesn't start until you go to bed. In this case, it happens to be daytime. It's just a little easier to find the fish during the day. I caught the special fish here, but as you can see, my boat is full of fish, and you can do the same. Don't feel restricted by your inventory space. And again, if you are fishing at night, you can be out there as long as you like. What you catch won't go rotten. The day only starts and the rotting only begins after you go to bed. Park your boat on top of special fish. Here I am searching for these special orange fish. I have finally found them, as you can see here. I keep my boat parked right on top of them, and then I swim back to the lumberjack. From here, you can buy a buoy, place a buoy just above where the special fish are located. You now know their location, and you can find them more easily again the next time you go fishing. You can catch special fish in traps. Find where the fish are located, and pop down some traps. As you can see here, I'm catching special fish in these traps. If you go putting down fish traps over places where there are special fish, consider doing it like this. I have kept them close together so that I can walk on them. It just makes it easier to empty them, each of them, at the end of the evening. See, in this case, I've made it very easy on myself. This is just like a floating surface, so harvesting from these fish traps is just a lot easier. Don't empty fish traps in the daytime. I used to have traps down here and then empty them in the morning when I should have been taking new deliveries. This is not a productive use of my time. Instead, empty your fish traps at night when you have all the time you need. That way, you can get the fish on the shelves ready for the next morning. Or, if you want to avoid that one day of rotting, you can keep them in your cellar until next morning. Swim out to your fish traps. At the time of making this video, the boat is incredibly slow. What I have to do is swim out to my fish traps and then place the boat so that I can collect the fish on the boat. I then have to paddle back to transport the fish. The developers may change this, but as I say, swimming is faster than using the boat. Plus, when swimming, you only have to press the directional button. Even if I used the boat to get out there, the paddle degrades fairly quickly. End of the day percentages are not about profit. I would love it if the end-of-day report profit percentages were actually about in-game profit, but they are not. The percentages are only there to show you if you have mispriced an item. For example, here, my bread profits are down by 27%. This means that at some point, I've probably turned down the price of bread on a previous day and then forgotten to put it back up again. On a similar note, don't try to use your end-of-day report to figure out if something is too expensive. Simply watch your customers. They will tell you if your products are overpriced or if they are too cheap. Again here, my carrots are overpriced because I raised them during a seasonal promotion and I forgot to return the price to normal. The small fish stand is pretty good. Take a look here at how I have arranged the fish on this small fish stand. I think it's a pretty good use of space. That is why I prefer the smaller fish stand as opposed to the larger one. This is the larger one, and where it's true that you can fit more fish onto it, I don't like that bar across the middle. It makes it too fiddly and difficult to arrange the fish. It's a poor use of space in my opinion. That is why I prefer to stick with these smaller fish stands. Try playing conservatively. If this is your second playthrough, try playing without expanding too much. Stick with the tiny shop, wait a while before you hire the cellar, and try not to expand at least until the mid-game. In fact, on my second playthrough, the only reason that I got the farm is that it's the only way to get rid of the tooltip on the top right that tells you to. Oh, and when you're using the hoe, you can just keep your finger on the button and use it as you move. If you don't fancy engaging with the farm, then just buy and plant sugar seeds and let the rainwater do the rest. Sugar grows all year round, and it will probably come in handy later when you need to make a jam or maybe make a potion. My point is, start small and then try to stay small in order to keep the costs down. Many of the upgrades will cost you maintenance fees permanently. This means that overexpanding too early can hinder your progress later in the game as you struggle to keep up with costs. The 9 aquarium fish. For the longest time, I couldn't find all 9 fish for the aquarium. The first 2 are regular fish and brown fish. The rest are special fish, and this is all of them. Also, as a side note, you can put lighting in your cellar if you wish. It isn't immediately obvious at first, so I just thought I'd bring it up. I checked the map and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which, including the common fish, makes a total of 8. What I didn't realize was that this mark down here is also a fish. It's this octopus thing, which was completely missing to complete my set. Here I am putting these darn expensive fish into the aquarium for the achievement. Still, there's always more fish in the sea. They will probably patch it out. There are a few things I would change about this game, such as letting me upgrade my boat to one with a sail so that I don't have to paddle and use the directional button, to let me have a wheelbarrow cart that works the same as the zipline cart, because packing stuff on that horse, the way it's done now, it's just way too fiddly. Or perhaps even to let me unrent an area, such as unrenting the workshop or the farmland, when I'm sick of using them. However, one thing that I find annoying that they probably will change in one of the upcoming future patches is how rotten food is restocked. When food is rotten in your marketplace, your seller employees will not switch it for normal food. What I do to make sure that I don't forget it is that I take it out, I put it on the order list, and then I leave the rotten food outside of my shop so that I remember that I need to replace those items manually. I don't actually put the rotten stuff next to the fresh stuff, I'm just doing this to show you. Nevertheless, having to replace rotten food manually is annoying, but it kind of feels like one of those things they'll probably change in the next patch. Still, this is how I remember which items I need to restock manually. The rotten storage method. This is about as close to an exploit as you're going to get in this video. I've laid out a bunch of items here that only have 1 day left before they expire. If my character goes to sleep now, these items will be rotten in the morning. So I take the items and I place them in the cellar, since the cellar acts like a big freezer. In the morning, I remove them from the cellar and I place them back where they found them. And as you can see, they're not rotten, they still have a day to go. I wouldn't suggest you do this as you progress further into the game, simply because at the time of making this video, you get a fair amount of money from throwing away your rotten food into the junker. So this artificial taking it back and forth from the cellar idea, it isn't really good value for money, or well, isn't really good value for your time. Put your machines against the wall. If your machine is up against the wall, then when you throw stuff on it, the stuff won't fly off the other end. If you throw it too far, then it will just hit the wall and remain on the machine. Why am I placing my machines each time I use them? The reason, as I mentioned earlier, is that having them set up overnight means that they will accrue maintenance fees. You should only set them up when you need to use them. Here are the origami statues. I'm giving you these firstly because finding all of them is it's rather difficult. And secondly, if you pick one up and then you accidentally drop it, or you set it on fire, or you put it in the junker, or whatever, I should make mention that at the time of making this video, these origami statues do respawn on the map. The only downside to that is that you may end up recollecting the ones that you've already collected, only to discover you don't need them yet. Either way, here are all the origami statues, the locations as to where they are, and that's it. That's the end of my tips video.